This will be a brief video where you learn how to make a histogram in Google Sheets. So as usual, you can use Google Sheets just to type in your data. You don't have to worry about putting the data in order or anything like that. A number would go in each cell. It's always good to label with a column header the data that you typed in. So these are overall scores. And then if you're going to use this table in other writing to label the table itself as table 1 or table 2 or something like that. So once you have your data typed in, I'm going to ignore the table label and start with the label for scores. I'm going to click on that cell, and in the middle of the cell I'm going to click and hold so I can select the entire table. And I'm going to go to Insert Chart. And it's going to try to guess what kind of chart I wanted. This is not the chart I wanted. I wanted it to be a histogram, so I have to go to Chart Type. And I know that a histogram is a bar chart, or it looks like a bar chart, but don't be deceived. If you hover over charts, it often tells you what kind of chart it is. This is not the bar chart that I'm looking for either. So as I go down to the other chart types, this one here says combo chart, and it's got a line on it, so it's not quite what I want. So I'm going to keep going, and then finally I get one that looks like a histogram, and I hover the mouse and it says histogram chart. So that's the one I want. And I can customize things if I'd like. This says overall score, so the labels are actually a little bit off this time. So I'm going to go to Customize, and I'm going to choose Chart Axis and Titles. The horizontal axis should be overall scores based on the data that I entered. The vertical axis, the y-axis up down, should just be like count or how often. So now I have a well-labeled histogram that if I click on it, I can go edit copy and I can paste it and I can use it in other documents and things like that. So there's a brief introduction to how to make a histogram in Google Sheets. One last note. There are different conventions for making histograms. Like for example, the category, these classes, the breaks, might be different if you did it by hand. The way that you count, whether you include a value in one bar or the next, can be different if it's on the boundary. But in general, the main features of a histogram are that the vertical axis is a count or a frequency. And then in general, each bar has the same width. Those are sort of the main features of a histogram. The main one being that the vertical axis is a count and your data is broken into groups. So this is a perfectly valid histogram, and it likely would match what you had already done by hand.